and welcome to the second series of Chat OMP and the second episode. He's back, Henry Tucker from our Bermuda office. Henry, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, William. It's good to be back.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Well, I mean, you had a storming first episode. We managed to edit it down from 4.5 days to 10 minutes. So it was a great effort. So look, Henry, I was in Bermuda in December for a week. I had a great time. And obviously I'm traveling a lot between our various offices, and Bermuda is a jurisdiction a lot of people are talking about at the moment. It feels like it's really back. It's having a huge moment. And you can feel that on the ground in Hamilton, and you can definitely feel it on the streets of London and Hong Kong. What's going on? Why now? And what are your insights from the office in Hamilton?
I think the first thing to say is that you're right. There is a really positive energy in Bermuda and in the market at the moment. It is the most optimistic I have seen it since I started practicing law here. And I think it connects to really two things. The first thing is that the jurisdiction has really struck a balance. We've struck a balance on the regulatory front in a really great way, where people feel like they're being regulated by the Bermuda Monetary Authority is a sort of gold standard mark of having a long sort of a regulated entity with longevity. But equally, there's the environment to succeed. And then that same balance has permeated other aspects. I think on the sort of immigration front, there's a feeling that the local population have ample opportunity, but at the same time, it's not overly restrictive on bringing people in to build the businesses that create the jobs in the jurisdiction. And so the combination of those two things, along with a whole bunch of other macro factors, really makes an exciting time right now to be working here.
Because it's really interesting in my role, I have an opportunity to see how each of our jurisdictions essentially markets itself. And a lot of that marketing is based on this is a good place to work, this is user friendly, and it's user friendly, which is what clients want. I'm hearing that phrase a lot right now about Bermuda. And also Bermuda has, I think people do lose sight of the proximity to New York makes it an easy place to get to. And you can just fly in and out of New York and create your own business streams. I mean, what amount of time are you spending in the Big Apple? God, I can't believe I've said the Big Apple rather than saying New York twice. So let's hopefully get that edited out. But like, how often are you there?
The moment it's quarterly, but it's something that is sort of verging on to monthly. And I think for most people who live here, they view that trip as fairly insignificant. It is close enough that you can leave the office at lunchtime and you can be in New York in time to get some work done in the city and then have dinner. And that makes it a much more attractive journey. It also means that you can connect with your clients and your friends who are there in a very casual way. Not dissimilar to if you were, say, working in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And that actually, more and more is being leveraged by people who are living and working here.
I always think if our Cayman or our BVI office, people say, look, I'll see you in 2 months. I'll see you in, 3-4 months. It's really hard to join the dots there. Whereas if you're saying to somebody, yeah, I'll see you in a fortnight. And by the way, if you need to see me before then for anything urgent, I'll see you that evening.
And it's not even something urgent. It's a Thursday afternoon and you're looking at the court diary and it looks like you're going to have a light afternoon on Friday, and you can message friends and contacts in New York and say, hey, look, if you're up for a drink tomorrow, let's do something. And that sort of flexibility is really important. I think it's also important because New York is the center of so much of what we do. And I think it's very easy to overlook that when there are no offshore law firms with offices in New York. So it does get overlooked. And so, we make a conscious effort to be there and be part of the community there.
It's great. And one day we will answer the real question as to, did New York give Bermuda the deal gilet, or did Bermuda give the deal gilet to New York? Because that Vineyard Vines Patagonia-based question is something that certainly gives me sleepless nights. I'll get to the bottom of it someday. Kind of moving on, I suppose, from Bermuda, but to your role in the Bermuda office, obviously playing such a critical role as the managing partner, and in a vain attempt to bring it back to the title of this podcast series. One of your favorite phrases, which I absolutely love, is when you finished a rant or constructive soliloquy, as I like to call it, Henry, you'll always say something along the lines of, look, it's not great, but let's just pick up a shovel. And I love that phrase, pick up a shovel. Maybe it's because I'm Irish, but I don't know where it comes from. But where did you first hear that? What does it mean for you?
I first learned it from a colleague of mine who is Irish, who I was working with in Hong Kong. And, what it means is it reflects my general view from a management perspective. The best way to solve a problem is to get to work on it. And too often there are meetings on management discussions, and nobody just tries to do the thing to get the answer or to get it to work enough times to figure out the best way, not just a way, but the best way to
Yeah.
get it to work. The reason that I use it so often is because I used to work construction. I quite literally would be on site, and there were plenty of guys who would stand around, stop by doing, a typical job is like sifting sand, and they'd point out how you were doing it wrong and then like move on to the next spot. But you wouldn't see them with a broom or a shovel in their hand ever. And ultimately what we're looking for is a team of people who from top to bottom, they're willing to pick up a shovel and figure out how to get stuff done. That's why I love the phrase.
I do love it. And look, I think that in businesses can become paralyzed with people articulating what the problem is. And I can hire a bunch of people to eloquently tell me what is going wrong with a problem that's on my desk. And that's a very limited / no use to me because I can do that myself. What you just sometimes need to do is roll up your sleeves and get working on it, because it's never ever, time is not your friend with a problem, is usually my take on it.
And so often the people who know the answer, they don't know what the right way of doing it is. They know what someone else told them the right way is to do it.
Yeah.
And the truth is that may not be the best way, because it's somebody repeating what somebody else told them is the right way to do this thing, which in their sort of managerial or consulting or whatever it is role, the right answer to the multiple choice question. What we're looking for is, how do you do the thing in the way that produces the best result for the client and uses the fewest resources of the firm to do that? That's really hard. And so that's the other aspect of it. It also means do the hard thing, right?
Yeah.
Very often, the reason people like talking about solutions is because it's easier than actually doing the thing that solves the problem.
You kind of touched on it there. One of the greatest problems for a business is received wisdom. So you keep doing something a certain way because that's how your forefathers and your forefathers before you did it. And that's a real problem, because you might be eking some cash out of that approach, but there may be a much, much more efficient way to do it. And received wisdom, and that's why fresh sets of eyes on long-standing problems are absolutely critical to progress it anyway.
Totally. And you say in business, a big problem is received wisdom. But, truthfully, that is a bigger problem in law firms than it is in almost any other business. There's a lot of reasons that you can look to for that. I mean, one is, there has been no, law firms have to be owned by lawyers. And so there's been no private equity influence on how they are run. And so outside opinions are few in roles where there is the power to make change. The second reason is that largely the legal market is extremely competitive, and a strong market position can protect you from inefficiency. I think there is some merit to moving a little bit faster and breaking a few more things. Not necessarily a full buy-in on the Silicon Valley approach to disruption, but people need to be willing to get stuck in a little bit more on the day-to-day.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about calibrating the right amount of disruption. Well, look, Henry, we've managed to blast through that 10 minutes really, really quickly, picking up some brilliant topics. Thanks so much for making the time. And if we make it to Series 3, Henry, you're back in the room.
I'm looking forward to Series 3. What do you mean if we make it? That's not the Harneys attitude.
It's going to be on Netflix. The amount of money I'm spending on her and makeup is enough. It doesn't bear thinking about. Well, look, good to catch up. Probably won't speak to you now for another 11 months before we do the next podcast. But I will talk to you real soon. Thanks, Henry. Appreciate it.